6 months after the invasion began, humanity had changed in ways that no one could have predicted. The old world of nations and borders had vanished, replaced by something new and dangerous. Underground cities grew beneath major metropolitan areas, connected by tunnel networks that stretched for hundreds of miles. These hidden communities became the birthplace of Earth's technological revolution. Dr. Kevin Walsh worked in what had once been a subway station beneath Chicago. The platform where commuters had waited for morning trains now housed equipment stolen from alien crash sites and salvaged from destroyed human laboratories. His team of students and faculty had spent months learning to understand Zephyrian technology, taking apart captured weapons piece by piece until they understood how each component functioned. "Amy, hand me that power coupling," Dr. Walsh said to his graduate student assistant. Amy Liu had been studying electrical engineering when the invasion started, but war had turned her into something much more valuable. Her understanding of Earth's magnetic field had led to breakthrough discoveries that even the aliens had not considered. "Professor, what if we use the planet's magnetic field as a focusing lens?" Amy asked, pointing to the alien plasma rifle they were examining. "Their weapons are designed for use in space or on worlds without strong magnetospheres. Earth's magnetic field could amplify the power output significantly." Dr. Walsh studied her suggestion carefully. The idea was so simple that it seemed obvious, but sometimes the best solutions were hiding in plain sight. Within days, they had built the first human-made energy weapon that could match alien firepower. More importantly, they had discovered a way to mass-produce the weapons using materials available on Earth. Sergeant First Class Maria Santos crawled through drainage tunnels beneath Detroit, leading her reconnaissance team toward an alien supply depot. Her unit had been studying Zephyrian behavior patterns for months, learning to predict how the enemy would react in different situations. The aliens followed strict tactical protocols that made them predictable once you understood their thinking. "They always post guards at the corners and main entrance," Maria whispered to her team members. "But they never think to watch the sewers, because their homeworld does not have underground water systems. We can get inside through the old storm drains." Her intelligence reports had revolutionized human defensive strategies across the globe. The Global Resistance Network distributed her observations through hidden communication channels, allowing resistance fighters on every continent to use the same tactics that worked in Detroit. The aliens' greatest strength, their disciplined, military doctrine, had become a weakness that humans could exploit. The Global Resistance Network operated from locations that changed daily, as former intelligence officers and military specialists worked together to coordinate humanity's response. Daniel Crawford had once been a CIA operative working in the shadows of international politics. Now he commanded a network that spanned continents and included everyone from former Special Forces soldiers to teenage computer hackers. Anya Petrov had served with Russian Special Forces before the invasion, but nationality meant nothing in the new world. She worked alongside Crawford to plan operations that would have been impossible when Earth was divided by political boundaries. Their encrypted communication system used quantum channels hidden within alien jamming frequencies, allowing resistance cells to coordinate without detection. "We have confirmed alien supply movements through 3 major corridors," Crawford reported during a planning meeting held in an abandoned mine in West Virginia. "If we can disrupt their logistics network, their frontline forces will run short of ammunition and replacement equipment within weeks." Master Sergeant Joe Hamilton commanded the defense of the Panama Canal, one of the most strategic locations remaining under human control. His unit included soldiers from the United States, Panama, and Colombia, working together in ways that would have required months of diplomatic negotiations before the invasion. War had a way of making old political differences seem unimportant. Hamilton's forces had learned to use Earth's infrastructure as weapons against alien technology. Bridges became firing platforms, tunnels became ambush sites, and urban environments became mazes that confused enemy forces. The aliens excelled at fighting in open terrain where their superior technology provided clear advantages. But human cities were built for humans, not for 8-foot-tall reptilian creatures. "Lockdown sectors 7 through 12, Hamilton ordered his tactical team. "When their patrol enters the canal zone, we hit them from positions they cannot see and retreat through passages they cannot follow. Dr. Susan Clark made her most important discovery in a laboratory hidden beneath Oxford University. The biologist had been studying captured alien tissue samples, trying to understand Zephyrian physiology and find exploitable weaknesses. Her breakthrough came when she realized that the aliens' evolutionary history made them vulnerable to Earth's environmental conditions. They evolved on a world with 30% less gravity and an atmosphere half as thick as ours, Dr. Clark explained, to the research team assembled via encrypted video call. Extended exposure to Earth conditions causes gradual deterioration in their equipment and physical performance. Their technology is not designed to operate effectively in our environment. Her research led to new tactics that took advantage of these weaknesses. Human forces learned to draw aliens into prolonged engagements in areas with high humidity, extreme temperatures, or challenging terrain. Each day the enemy spent on Earth made them slightly less effective, while human defenders grew stronger and more adaptable. The siege of Mumbai became humanity's first major victory against Zephyrian ground forces. General Raj Patel commanded a defense that combined modern military technology with ancient siege warfare principles that had protected the city for centuries. His forces used Mumbai's incredible population density and complex urban landscape to negate every alien technological advantage. The battle lasted 93 days and nights with fighting in every neighborhood, every building, and every street. The aliens controlled the skies and had superior firepower, but they could not secure territory they could not see or understand. Human defenders appeared from sewers, rooftops, and hidden passages, striking quickly and disappearing before the enemy could respond effectively. "Let them have the main streets," General Patel told his commanders. "We own everything else. Every apartment building becomes a fortress. Every alley becomes a killing field. They can destroy individual buildings, but they cannot destroy a city that fights back." Brad Johnson had been the chief executive of a technology company before the invasion, but war had transformed him into something between a general and a factory manager. His hidden production facilities, scattered across seemingly abandoned buildings throughout Silicon Valley, produced miniaturized communication devices that allowed resistance cells to coordinate without being detected by alien surveillance systems. "We need 10,000 units by next week," Johnson told his production team during their daily planning meeting. Resistance groups in South America are requesting communication gear for a coordinated strike against alien positions. "We cannot let them down." His manufacturing network had become the model for distributed wartime production across the globe. Small factories hidden in basements, caves, and abandoned buildings could produce essential equipment without presenting large targets for alien bombardment. The system was inefficient compared to traditional manufacturing, but it was nearly impossible to destroy completely. Captain Linda Gray led the first successful attack on an alien capital ship, commanding a squadron of modified fighter aircraft that combined human piloting skills with captured alien technology. Her pilots used tactics that horrified Zephyrian commanders, including coordinated kamikaze attacks and close-range engagements that risked mutual destruction. "Alpha Squadron, this is Gray," she transmitted to her pilots as they approached the massive enemy vessel. "Remember, we are not trying to win a fair fight. We are trying to hurt them badly enough that they think twice about coming back." Her squadron's success proved that alien capital ships were not invulnerable, inspiring similar attacks around the world. Human forces began targeting the massive vessels that served as command centers and supply bases for ground operations. Each successful attack weakened alien morale, while demonstrating that no enemy target was beyond human reach. As the first year of war ended, War Commander Vexthar faced a crisis that threatened his career and his understanding of warfare. The creatures he had expected to conquer within days had not only survived but were growing stronger. Human technology was beginning to match Zephyrian capabilities in several key areas, and their tactical innovations were spreading faster than his forces could adapt. "Commander, we have lost 3 supply depots this week," his logistics officer reported during their morning briefing. "Human forces are using our own weapons against us and have learned to operate our transportation vehicles. They are becoming more dangerous with each engagement." Vexthar studied the tactical displays, showing human positions around the globe. Red markers indicated active resistance cells, and there were far too many to count. The second year of war began with humanity's most ambitious military operation since the invasion started. Operation Prometheus was named after the ancient Greek god who stole fire from the heavens and gave it to mankind. The plan would either liberate Earth's orbital installations or result in the complete destruction of human space-based capabilities. Admiral Jake Morrison commanded the operation from a heavily fortified bunker hidden deep in the Australian outback. His fleet consisted of captured alien vessels, retrofitted commercial spacecraft, and newly constructed fighters built with hybrid human-alien technology. Every ship had been modified extensively, combining the best features of both civilizations' engineering approaches. "All units, this is Morrison," he transmitted to the assembled fleet. "Today we take back our sky. Every satellite, every space station, and every orbital platform that the aliens have stolen from us will be returned to human control. We fight not just for victory, but for our future among the stars." The space battle began at dawn Australian time, as human forces launched simultaneous attacks on alien positions throughout Earth's orbital zone. The fighting was unlike anything in human military history, with spacecraft engaging at velocities that made traditional tactics impossible. Pilots had to think and react faster than ever before, making split-second decisions while traveling at thousands of miles per hour. General Patricia Young coordinated the ground component of Operation Prometheus from her command post in the Swiss Alps. Her army included regular military units that had survived 2 years of warfare, guerrilla fighters who had learned to blend into civilian populations, and thousands of volunteers who had spent months training in secret camps hidden throughout the mountains. First wave, advance on the administrative center, General Young commanded as her forces moved down from their mountain positions toward the valley where the aliens had established their primary Earth headquarters. "Remember, we are not just fighting to win this battle. We are fighting to prove that humans cannot be conquered." The battle for Luna Base marked humanity's return to space-based combat operations. Captain Elena Vasquez led the assault force that attacked the moon's surface installations, using tactics developed specifically for zero-gravity warfare. Her soldiers had trained in underwater environments and modified aircraft that simulated the conditions they would face on Luna's surface. The 3-day battle showcased how much human military doctrine had evolved since the invasion began. Soldiers used magnetic boots to walk on spacecraft hulls while firing weapons in vacuum conditions. They employed grappling hooks and jetpacks to move between enemy positions, turning the moon's low gravity into a tactical advantage. "Bravo team, secure the communications array," Captain Vasquez ordered as her assault troops spread across Luna Base Alpha's original location. "Charlie team, take the power generators. We need this base operational within 6 hours if we want to coordinate with Earth-based forces." War Commander Vexthar watched the human attacks unfold from his flagship in high orbit above Earth. The coordinated strikes were happening simultaneously across multiple continents and extending into space itself. The level of organization required for such an operation indicated that human command capabilities had evolved far beyond what he had expected from a primitive species. "How are they coordinating these attacks?" Vexithar demanded from his tactical officers. "We have been jamming their communications for 2 years. There should be no way for them to plan operations of this complexity." His communications specialist studied the data streams flowing across his instruments before responding. "Commander, they appear to be using quantum entanglement channels hidden within our own jamming frequencies. Their communication system is actually more advanced than ours in some respects." Dr. Robert Kim worked frantically in his laboratory deep beneath the ruins of Houston, putting the finishing touches on humanity's greatest technological achievement. The hyperspace drive he had developed would allow human vessels to travel faster than light, but more importantly, it would prove that humanity could not only match alien technology but improve upon it. "Final systems check complete," Dr. Kim announced to his engineering team. "Earth's Hope is ready for its maiden voyage. If this works, we will have strategic mobility that matches anything the Zephyrian Empire can deploy." The first human-built starship was smaller than alien vessels, but incorporated design innovations that no other species had developed. Human engineers had solved problems that had challenged alien scientists for centuries, using approaches that emphasized flexibility and adaptability over raw power. Colonel Steve Parker led the most daring raid of the entire war, attacking an alien supply depot that contained advanced manufacturing equipment essential to Zephyrian operations on Earth. His mixed unit of Special Forces soldiers and civilian engineers had studied the target for weeks, learning the routines and weaknesses of its defenders. "Remember, we need that equipment intact," Colonel Parker reminded his team as they approached the alien facility. "Destroying it is easy, but capturing it will give us the ability to produce our own versions of their most advanced systems." The raid succeeded beyond all expectations, providing human forces with manufacturing capabilities that had previously been available only to spacefaring civilizations. Within days, underground factories were producing human-designed versions of alien weapons, vehicles, and communication systems. The liberation of Earth's global communication networks became a massive psychological victory that affected both human and alien morale. Tech specialist Kathy Williams led a team of engineers and former internet infrastructure workers who had spent months planning the operation to restore worldwide communications. "All satellites are back online," Williams reported from the control center they had established in a recaptured communication facility. "Global internet access has been restored, and secure military channels are operational. We can now coordinate resistance activities in real time across all continents." The restoration of global communications allowed human forces to share tactical innovations, coordinate supply movements, and maintain morale through contact with resistance groups worldwide. More importantly, it demonstrated that alien technological superiority was not permanent or insurmountable. Dr. Jennifer Foster's medical research team achieved breakthrough treatments for Zephyrian bioweapons that had been killing human soldiers and civilians for 2 years. Her work in underground hospitals had saved thousands of lives while proving that human medical science could match alien capabilities when properly motivated and resourced. "We have developed antidotes for all known Zephyrian biological agents," Dr. Foster announced during a medical conference held via encrypted video link. "Our treatments are actually more effective than the aliens' own medical protocols because we understand human physiology better than they do." Her research provided another example of human innovation, surpassing alien technology through specialized knowledge and creative problem-solving approaches that emphasized adaptation over standardization. 3. Naval Battle of the Atlantic demonstrated humanity's growing capabilities in space-based warfare. Commander Paul Anderson led a fleet of converted cargo ships and passenger vessels against a Zephyrian patrol squadron, achieving victory through tactics that emphasized human creativity and unpredictability over technological superiority. "All ships execute Pattern Delta," Commander Anderson transmitted to his makeshift fleet. "Remember, they expect us to fight like a proper military force. Instead, we fight like desperate humans who refuse to give up." His vessels used ramming attacks, coordinated self-destruction, and close-range engagements that violated every principle of space combat doctrine. The tactics worked because alien commanders could not predict or counter strategies that seemed to ignore logic and self-preservation. As Operation Prometheus reached its climax, human forces struck at Zephyrian positions around the globe with a coordination that impressed even their enemies. The attack succeeded not because of superior firepower or advanced technology, but because they demonstrated something the aliens had never encountered, a species that became more dangerous when threatened with extinction. Each successful human victory proved that the Zephyrian Empire was not invincible. More importantly, the coordinated operations showed that humanity had evolved from a collection of competing nations into a unified species capable of planning and executing complex military campaigns on a global scale. War Commander Vexthar found himself facing the most difficult decision of his military career. His forces still controlled major population centers and strategic resources, but human resistance was growing stronger instead of weaker. The primitives he had expected to conquer in days had become opponents capable of matching Zephyrian military capabilities. "Prepare a priority transmission to Imperial Command," Vexthar ordered his communications officer. "Request immediate deployment of the core fleet. This world cannot be conquered with current force levels. The message would bring reinforcements that would either complete Earth's conquest or escalate the conflict beyond anything the galaxy had seen in centuries. Either way, the war commander knew that his failure to defeat humanity quickly had already changed the course of Zephyrian military history forever. Jake Morrison stared at the computer screen in the Luna Base Alpha control room. The numbers made no sense. Something huge was moving through space near Jupiter, but nothing that big should exist. He rubbed his tired eyes and looked again. The wheel readings stayed the same. "Lisa, come look at this," he called to his communications officer. Lisa Grant walked over from her station, carrying a cup of coffee that smelled like burned plastic. Life on the moon base meant everything tasted wrong, but they had learned to live with it. "What do you see, Commander?" Lisa asked, looking at Jake's screen. Her face went pale as she read the data. "That cannot be right. Nothing is that massive." Jake nodded and turned to his other officers. "Ryan, Nina, get over here now." Ryan Cooper left his tactical station while Nina Torres finished typing commands into her computer. Both officers had worked with Jake for 3 years on Luna Base Alpha, and they trusted his judgment completely. "Are we looking at some kind of space rock?" Ryan asked, studying the readings. His military training made him think of threats first, but even he could not imagine what kind of danger could come from something so far away. Nina checked her instruments twice before speaking. "Commander, these readings show multiple objects, not just one. They are all enormous and they just appeared out of nowhere." Her voice shook slightly as she spoke. Back on Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan sat in her office deep inside NORAD headquarters in Colorado Springs. The mountain around her contained some of the most advanced military equipment on the planet, but nothing had prepared her for the call she received from Luna Base Alpha. Jake Morrison's report made her question everything. She knew about space and Earth's place in it. "How many objects are we talking about, Commander Morrison?" Admiral Sullivan asked through the secure communication link. "At least 12 ships, Admiral. Each one is roughly the size of Manhattan. They appeared simultaneously near Jupiter's orbit approximately 4 hours ago." Jake's voice carried across the space between Earth and Moon with perfect clarity, but his words seemed impossible to believe. Admiral Sullivan immediately contacted her counterparts around the world. General Carlos Martinez commanded the European Defense Force from his headquarters in Brussels, while Admiral Liu Wei led the Asian-Pacific Alliance from his base in Singapore. Within minutes, all 3 military leaders were connected on a secure video call. "Gentlemen, we have a situation unlike anything we have ever faced," Admiral Sullivan began. "Unknown objects of enormous size have appeared in our solar system. They show signs of artificial construction and purposeful movement." General Martinez leaned forward in his chair. "Are we certain these are not natural phenomena? Perhaps some kind of asteroid cluster?" Admiral Liu Wei shook his head. "Our deep space monitoring stations in Australia and Japan confirm Commander Morrison's readings. These objects are definitely artificial. The question is whether they are hostile." The answer came sooner than anyone expected. At exactly 1400 hours Earth Standard Time, every communication device on the planet received the same signal simultaneously. Television broadcasts stopped, radio stations went silent, and internet connections displayed only a single message. The signal bypassed all security systems and appeared in every human language at once. President Amanda Foster sat in the Oval Office when her television screen flickered and changed. Instead of the news program she had been watching, a creature, unlike anything from Earth, appeared on the screen. The being stood 8 feet tall, with scaled skin that shifted between green and gray colors. Its eyes were large and yellow, with no visible whites, and its mouth contained rows of sharp teeth. "Inhabitants of the 3rd planet," the creature spoke, and its words appeared as text in perfect English at the bottom of the screen. "I am War Commander Vexthar of the Zephyrian Empire. Your world has been selected for incorporation into our territory." The message continued without pause. "You have 72 of your planetary rotations to surrender completely and unconditionally. Resistance will result in the elimination of your species. Compliance will allow your survival as workers under Zephyrian authority. This is your only Warning. President Foster immediately called her security advisor while similar scenes played out in every government building, military base, and civilian home across Earth. Prime Minister Oliver Hughes watched the same message from his office in London, while Chancellor Maria Hoffmann received it in Berlin. Every world leader faced the same impossible situation at the same moment. Within hours, emergency sessions convened in every capital city. The United Nations building in New York filled with representatives from every member nation, while military commanders coordinated responses from secure bunkers around the globe. The message played repeatedly on every screen, ensuring that no human could avoid hearing the alien ultimatum. Jake Morrison returned to Earth on the first available transport, joining Admiral Sullivan and her staff at NORAD headquarters. The mountain facility buzzed with activity as officers and analysts worked to understand the threat facing humanity. Satellite images showed the alien ships moving slowly but steadily toward Earth, their massive hulls reflecting sunlight in ways that hurt to look at directly. Dr. Helen Price arrived at MIT within hours of the broadcast, joining her research partner Dr. Ben Taylor in analyzing the alien transmission. Their equipment detected transmission methods far beyond human technology, but they also found something interesting. The aliens had used human communication satellites to broadcast their message, suggesting they understood Earth's technology, but needed to use it for their own purposes. They could have simply taken control of our entire communication network, Dr. Price explained to the Emergency Science Committee. The fact that they used it instead of replacing it suggests either restraint or limitation. As the 72-hour deadline approached, humanity struggled to find a unified response. Some nations advocated for immediate surrender, believing that survival as slaves was better than extinction. Others demanded military preparation, though everyone understood that Earth's weapons were primitive compared to the alien technology they had witnessed. The answer came not from government buildings or military headquarters, but from the streets of every city on Earth. Massive crowds gathered in Times Square, Trafalgar Square, Red Square, and thousands of other locations. People of every nation, race, and religion stood together carrying signs with the same message in dozens of languages. Earth will not surrender. The demonstrations continued for all 72 hours, growing larger each day. Factory workers joined with office employees. Students marched alongside grandparents, and soldiers stood with civilians in a display of unity that crossed all boundaries. Television cameras broadcast the crowds to the world, and even in countries where gatherings were forbidden, people found ways to show their defiance. When the deadline expired, Admiral Sullivan stood before cameras in the NORAD briefing room. Behind her, screens showed the alien fleet, now much closer to Earth and clearly visible to space-based telescopes. Her words would be broadcast to every human on the planet, and presumably to the aliens waiting for humanity's answer. War Commander Vexthar, Admiral Sullivan said, looking directly into the camera, "I speak for all humanity when I give you our response. We reject your ultimatum completely. Earth will defend itself against any attack, and we will never accept slavery under any alien authority. If you want our world, you will have to take it by force." The transmission ended, and across the planet, humans prepared for a war they could not possibly win, but refused to avoid. The first alien attack came exactly 12 hours after Admiral Sullivan's broadcast. Bright streaks of energy fell from the sky like deadly rain, targeting military bases, communication centers, and government buildings around the world. The plasma beams cut through concrete and steel as easily as a knife through butter, leaving glowing craters where important buildings had stood moments before. Lieutenant Colonel Sam Rivers was drinking coffee in his office at Peterson Space Force Base when the first beam struck the main hangar. The building simply vanished, replaced by a hole in the ground that glowed with strange light. Rivers grabbed his rifle and ran toward the base alarm system, but the control room had already been destroyed by a second strike. "All units, this is Colonel Rivers," he shouted into his radio as explosions shook the ground around him. "We are under attack by alien forces. Prepare for ground assault." His voice carried across the base communication system to the 200 soldiers stationed at Peterson. Most of them had never fired their weapons at anything more dangerous than training targets. The alien dropships appeared 30 minutes later, descending through Earth's atmosphere like black tears in the blue sky. Each ship was the size of a city bus, but moved with the grace of a falling leaf. They landed in formation around the damaged base, and their sides opened like blooming flowers to release the creatures inside. Rivers got his first close look at a living Zephyrian warrior when one stepped out of the nearest dropship. The alien stood 8 feet tall, just like War Commander Vexthar in the broadcast, but this one wore armor that seemed to absorb light. In its hands, it carried a weapon that hummed with energy and cast strange shadows on the ground. "Open fire," Rivers commanded, and his soldiers began shooting at the advancing aliens. Their bullets struck the Zephyrian armor and bounced away, harmlessly, leaving not even scratches on the dark surface. The aliens raised their energy weapons and fired back, sending beams of purple light that cut through human soldiers like they were made of paper. Rivers watched in horror as half his unit died in the first exchange of fire. The alien weapons were so powerful that they left nothing behind except smoking boots and scattered equipment. But something strange happened when Private Tony Rodriguez threw a grenade at the nearest alien warrior. The explosion knocked the creature down, and its armor showed visible cracks. "Use explosives," Rivers shouted to his remaining soldiers. Their shields stopped bullets but not blast force. The discovery saved what remained of his unit, though Peterson's Space Force base fell to the aliens within 2 hours of the first attack. Similar battles played out across the globe as Zephyrian forces landed at strategic locations. The aliens expected quick victories followed by mass surrenders, but humans proved much more stubborn than any species they had conquered before. Every military base that fell took several hours to capture, and civilian populations refused to cooperate with occupation forces. Dr. Helen Price worked frantically in her MIT laboratory, studying pieces of alien technology that had been recovered from battle sites. The material was unlike anything she had ever seen, but her instruments detected familiar patterns in its atomic structure. Working alongside Dr. Ben Taylor, she discovered that the alien armor used metamaterials that could be disrupted by specific electromagnetic frequencies. "Ben, look at this," she said, pointing to readings on her computer screen. "Their shield generators operate on a very narrow frequency band. If we can build transmitters that broadcast the right signal, we might be able to disable their defenses." Dr. Taylor examined the data and nodded excitedly. "Helen, this could change everything. But we need to get this information to every resistance group on Earth, and the aliens have destroyed most of our communication networks." The Battle of New York began when Zephyrian dropships landed in Central Park during the morning rush hour. Colonel Rachel Green commanded a mixed force of National Guard soldiers, police officers, and armed civilians who had refused to evacuate the city. She established her command post in the subway system beneath Times Square, using the tunnel network to move troops and supplies without being detected by alien surveillance. The aliens expected to control Manhattan within hours, but Colonel Green had other plans. Her forces had spent days preparing for urban warfare, placing explosive charges in key buildings and creating firing positions on rooftops throughout the city. When the Zephyrian ground forces advanced down Broadway, they walked into a carefully planned ambush. "Fire everything we have," Colonel Green commanded from her underground position. Explosions erupted from windows and rooftops as her soldiers attacked the alien column from every direction. The creature's personal shields protected them from direct hits, but debris from collapsing buildings could still crush them, and the psychological effect of constant attack from invisible enemies began to wear down their morale. Captain Tony Rodriguez flew his F-35 fighter jet over Los Angeles when alien interceptors appeared in the sky above the city. The enemy aircraft moved like nothing he had ever seen, changing direction instantly and accelerating beyond anything human technology could match. His squadron of 12 jets faced 40 alien fighters in a battle that seemed hopeless from the beginning. "Alpha Squadron, this is Rodriguez," he spoke into his radio. "These things are too fast for conventional tactics. We need to think like idiots instead of pilots." He rolled his aircraft into a dive that would have been suicide against human opponents, but the alien pilot following him could not predict such an irrational maneuver. Rodriguez managed to fire a missile at point-blank range, destroying his first alien target. His fellow pilots learned quickly, using unpredictable flight patterns and desperate moves that confused the enemy. Human pilots began winning individual battles by flying in ways that violated every rule of aerial combat. The aliens were better trained and had superior technology, but they could not adapt to opponents who seemed to ignore logic and self-preservation. Major Alex Stone led resistance, operations in the Rocky Mountains where his knowledge of local terrain gave human forces significant advantages. The aliens had conquered flat areas and cities with relative ease, but mountain warfare proved much more difficult for creatures who had evolved on a world with lower gravity and thinner atmosphere. Stone's teams used hunting skills and survival, techniques that had been passed down through generations of Colorado families. They set traps that would cripple alien vehicles, attacked supply convoys from hidden positions, and disappeared into cave systems that the enemy could never hope to search completely. Each successful ambush captured alien weapons and equipment that could be studied and copied. These creatures are used to fighting in open space and flat ground, Stone explained to his team leaders during a planning meeting in an abandoned mine shaft. Mountains are foreign to them, so we use that advantage. Make them afraid to leave their landing zones. As the first month of invasion continued, War Commander Vexthar found himself facing a situation that defied all military logic. His forces controlled major cities and strategic resources, but human resistance continued to grow stronger instead of weaker. Every day brought new attacks, new tactics, and new examples of human stubbornness that made no sense according to Zephyrian military doctrine. The aliens had conquered 47 worlds before Earth, and every previous invasion had followed the same pattern. Initial resistance would collapse after a show of superior technology, followed by negotiations and eventual surrender. But humans seemed to become more dangerous as their situation grew more desperate. Vexthar studied reports from his ground commanders with growing confusion. Human casualties were enormous by any reasonable measure, but new fighters appeared faster than they could be eliminated. Worse, the humans were learning to fight more effectively with each passing day, adapting their tactics and technology to match alien capabilities. Commander, his chief tactical officer reported during their daily briefing, human forces are now using our own weapons against us. They have learned to operate our equipment and are incorporating it into their defensive systems. Vexthar nodded grimly. For the first time in his military career, he faced the possibility of requesting reinforcements. The Zephyrian Empire had never needed more than local system fleets to complete a conquest, but Earth was proving to be unlike any world they had ever encountered. Prepare a transmission to Imperial Command, Vexthar ordered his communications officer. Inform them that this world will require additional resources to complete the conquest. The inhabitants are proving more resilient than anticipated. The message would take several days to reach the Imperial core worlds, and the response would take even longer to arrive. Until then, Vexthar would have to continue the conquest with his existing forces, hoping that human resistance would eventually break under the pressure of sustained attack. But in the underground command centers, mountain hideouts, and subway tunnels where human leaders planned their next moves, hope was growing stronger instead of weaker. Earth's defenders had learned that the aliens could be hurt, could be confused, and could be defeated. The war was far from over, and humanity was just beginning to fight back. The arrival of the Imperial Core Fleet changed everything about the war that had consumed Earth for 2 years. Massive alien vessels emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, each one larger than entire cities and bristling with weapons capable of destroying planets. Supreme War Marshal Kethavar commanded the fleet from his flagship, a vessel so enormous that it generated its own gravity field. The War Marshal's orders were simple and final: complete the conquest of Earth within one planetary rotation, or sterilize the world completely to serve as an example to other species that might consider resisting Zephyrian authority. The Empire had never suffered a military defeat, and it would not begin with a primitive world on the galaxy's outer rim. Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the command center of his flagship, the Unity, watching the alien reinforcements take positions throughout Earth's solar system. His combined human fleet included vessels from every space-capable nation, captured alien ships retrofitted with human technology, and new spacecraft built in hidden factories around the globe. The odds against humanity had never been worse, but morale had never been higher. "All ships, this is Admiral Morrison," he transmitted to the largest human military force ever assembled. "Today we fight not just for Earth, but for our place among the stars. If we win, humanity joins the galactic community as equals. If we lose everything. There will be no retreat and no surrender. The decisive battle began in Earth's upper atmosphere, where human fighters swarmed around alien battlecruisers, like insects attacking giants. The comparison was more accurate than anyone wanted to admit, but humans had learned that sometimes being small and fast was better than being large and powerful. Captain Linda Gray led Attack Squadron 7 in a desperate assault on the alien command ship, using tactics that horrified even veteran human pilots. Her squadron flew in formation straight at the massive vessel's bridge, ignoring defensive fire that destroyed half her pilots before they reached their target. The survivors fired their weapons at point-blank range before ramming their aircraft into critical systems. Alpha leader to all squadrons, Gray transmitted as her damaged fighter spiraled toward the alien ship's hull. Pattern Omega is in effect. All pilots execute terminal attack runs. Make every shot count because there will not be a second chance. Her sacrifice inspired similar attacks throughout the battle zone as human pilots used their aircraft as guided missiles, trading their lives for critical damage to alien systems. The tactic was insane by any military standard, but it worked because the aliens could not defend against opponents who seemed to welcome death if it meant victory. On the ground, General Patricia Young's Liberation Army launched the final assault on the Zephyrian Administrative Center that had controlled Earth for 2 years. Her forces included professional soldiers, guerrilla fighters, and civilian volunteers who had learned to use captured alien weapons with deadly effectiveness. The battle would determine whether humanity could reclaim its own planet. All units, advance on the central complex, General Young commanded from her forward position. Remember, we are not just fighting to free our world. We are fighting to prove that humans cannot be broken, cannot be conquered, and will never accept slavery under any alien authority. The ground battle raged for 18 hours as human forces fought their way through defensive positions that the aliens had spent months fortifying. Every street became a battlefield, every building became a fortress, and every human soldier fought with the knowledge that defeat meant the extinction of their species. Dr. Robert Kim's greatest achievement changed the course of the battle when Earth's hope emerged from hyperspace behind the alien fleet, proving that human technology had not only matched alien capabilities, but surpassed them in critical areas. The first human-built starship delivered a devastating surprise attack that crippled the enemy command and control systems. Hyperspace jump complete, Dr. Kim reported from the ship's bridge. All weapon systems online. Target the command vessels. Communication array. Without coordination, their fleet cannot function as an integrated force. The successful hyperspace attack demonstrated something that shocked both sides. Humanity had become a spacefaring civilization, capable of strategic operations across interstellar distances. The species that had been confined to a single world 2 years earlier now possessed technology that could take them to the stars. War Commander Vexthar and Supreme War Marshal Kethvar found themselves commanding a military disaster that defied every principle of Zephyrian warfare. Their technologically superior forces were being systematically defeated by opponents who should have been conquered within days of the initial invasion. How is this possible? War Marshal Kethvar demanded from his damaged flagship. These creatures were classified as primitives in our intelligence reports. They should not be able to match our military capabilities. Vexthar studied the tactical displays showing the destruction of his fleet with something approaching admiration. War Marshal, I believe our intelligence was flawed from the beginning. These humans are not primitives. They are warriors who become more dangerous when threatened with extinction. The psychological impact of human victories began affecting alien morale throughout the fleet. Zephyrian soldiers who had conquered dozens of worlds found themselves questioning whether their empire was truly invincible. Many began surrendering rather than face opponents who seemed to welcome death if it meant victory. Colonel Sam Rivers led the final assault on Zephyrian headquarters, where War Commander Vexthar made his last stand with the elite units that had remained loyal despite the military disaster unfolding around them. The battle was personal for both commanders, representing 2 years of warfare that had changed both species forever. War Commander Vexthar, Colonel Rivers said when the Alien commander was finally cornered in his command center. Your forces are defeated, your fleet is destroyed, and your empire's reputation for invincibility is broken. Surrender now, and your surviving soldiers will be treated according to the rules of war. Vexthar looked around his ruined command post, then at the human soldiers who had fought their way through defenses that should have been impregnable. His military career was over. His invasion had failed, and the species he had underestimated had proven themselves worthy opponents. Colonel Rivers, Vexthar replied, removing his weapons and placing them on the ground. I formally surrender all Zephyrian forces on this world to human authority. You have won a victory that will be remembered throughout the galaxy. The war's conclusion brought unexpected developments that no one had predicted. Many Zephyrian soldiers chose to remain on Earth rather than return to their empire, fascinated by human culture and society. The technological exchange between species accelerated human development while revolutionizing alien military thinking. President Amanda Foster addressed the newly formed Terran Parliament from the rebuilt United Nations building in New York. Behind her, flags from every Earth nation flew alongside the new banner of unified humanity. A blue world surrounded by stars, representing Earth's place in the galactic community. Citizens of Earth, President Foster announced to an audience that included both humans and aliens. Today marks the beginning of humanity's interstellar age. Our first colonies are being established beyond this solar system, and Earth takes its place as an independent power in galactic politics. Dr. Helen Price led the development of hybrid technologies that combined human innovation with alien engineering, creating capabilities that neither species could achieve alone. Her research stations orbited Earth and extended throughout the solar system, representing the foundation of humanity's interstellar civilization. The fusion of human creativity with alien knowledge produced breakthroughs in physics, medicine, and engineering that advanced both species by centuries. Humans learned to build starships that could cross the galaxy in days, while aliens discovered military tactics that emphasized adaptability over technological superiority. Admiral Jake Morrison commanded Earth's first deep space exploration fleet, carrying human settlers and diplomats to distant worlds. The species that had learned to fight for survival now explored the galaxy as equals, carrying with them the knowledge that no challenge was insurmountable when faced with determination and unity. The fleet included both human and alien crew members, working together on missions of exploration and diplomacy. Former enemies had become partners in expanding the boundaries of known space and establishing peaceful contact with other species throughout the galaxy. 5 years after the invasions, Ambassador Vexthar addressed the Galactic Council alongside human representatives. The former war commander had become the leading advocate for Zephyrian-human cooperation, using his military experience to promote peace between species that had once fought for Earth's future. Honored delegates, Ambassador Vexthar said to the assembled representatives of dozens of worlds, I stand before you as proof that military strength cannot be measured by technology alone. Humanity taught the Zephyrian Empire that a species' true power lies in its willingness to adapt, innovate, and never surrender in the face of impossible odds. His speech acknowledged what military databases could never predict.